Let me tell you something. Men might look tough, act strong, and walk around like they've got it all figured out, but deep down, there's a part of us that's not bulletproof. And it's not money, not looks, not fame that ties a man to a woman forever. It's a moment, just one moment where his heart says, this is it. The second it happens, he's done. He's locked in. And no matter what storm comes, he'll keep coming back to you. Because you've touched him in a way the world never could. Every man steps into the world with an invisible shield around him. It's not something you can touch or see, but it's there. That shield is made from years of being told he has to be strong, tough, unshakable. From the time he was a little boy, he heard things like, "Man up! Don't cry. Handle it yourself." Society doesn't exactly hand men a safe space to be vulnerable, so they build walls. They hide their fears, their insecurities, their pain, and even their true dreams, because the world doesn't always handle their honesty gently. They wear confidence like armor, but inside there are battles nobody knows about. That's why the moment a man feels safe enough to take off that armor with someone, really take it off, it changes everything. Safety, in this sense, isn't about physical security, it's emotional safety. It's knowing he can share his doubts without being seen as weak, cry without being shamed, and open up about what scares him without it being used against him later. When a man finds a woman who gives him that kind of freedom, he experiences something the world rarely offers him: acceptance without conditions. It's not just about listening to what he says, it's about creating an atmosphere where he feels no need to filter himself. It's when you don't rush to fix him or judge him, but simply hear him. The power here is in subtle things, not rolling your eyes when he shares something small but important to him, not laughing at his fears, and not dismissing his feelings just because you've never seen that side of him before. The way you react in those vulnerable moments tells him whether it's safe to show them again. A man can have everything: career success, friends, hobbies, but if he doesn't have a place where he can put down his shield, he'll always feel like he's carrying a weight. You become that place, and once you're that place, it's almost impossible for him to walk away. Because now you're not just a partner, you're the only person who knows the version of him that the world never gets to see. That's a connection deeper than attraction, deeper than chemistry. It's emotional trust. The beauty of this is that it doesn't happen through one grand gesture. It's built in small, consistent moments. You might be sitting on the couch after a long day, and he tells you something he's been holding in. Maybe it's a mistake he made at work. Maybe it's a fear he's been battling. And instead of criticizing him or making him feel like less of a man, you look him in the eye, touch his hand, and say, "I get it. You're human, and I'm here." That's the moment that sticks. That's the moment that softens his heart in a way nothing else can. Let me give you an example. Imagine there's a man named David. Out in the world, David is a leader. People come to him for answers. He makes the big decisions. He's the one everyone leans on. But one night, after a particularly rough day, he comes home quieter than usual. His girlfriend notices and simply says, "Rough day?" He nods but doesn't say much. Instead of pushing, she makes him some tea and sits beside him, giving him space to gather his thoughts. After a while, he admits he feels like he failed at something important and that it's eating him up inside. He expects her to be disappointed or offer a lecture, but she doesn't. She listens, really listens, and tells him she still believes in him and that one bad day doesn't define who he is. That small moment of understanding makes David feel something he hasn't felt all day: relief. He feels seen, he feels accepted. And in that exact moment, a seed of deep emotional attachment takes root. This is what people often misunderstand. Men don't become emotionally attached because someone makes them feel excited or entertained. Those things are fleeting. They attach for life when they find the one person with whom they can stop performing, stop pretending, and simply be. That safety is rare. And when a man finds it, he's not going to trade it for anything. Because freedom in love isn't about escaping to something new. It's about finding a place so real, so accepting that you never want to escape from it. That's the moment he'll hold on to forever. Men are natural doers. They grow up being taught to work hard, to achieve, to prove themselves through what they can produce or accomplish. For many men, their worth feels directly tied to their results. The deal they closed, the promotion they earned, the house they bought, the goals they hit. But here's the thing, life doesn't always reward effort right away. Sometimes you can pour your heart, your time, and your energy into something and still not get the outcome you hoped for. That's when a man starts to question himself, when doubt creeps in, when he wonders if he's good enough. And in those moments, the way you respond can define how he feels about you for the rest of his life. Seeing his effort means looking beyond the scoreboard. It's acknowledging the late nights, the sacrifices, the quiet discipline nobody else notices. It's recognizing the intent behind his actions, even when the outcome isn't perfect. Men are so used to being measured by their wins that when someone says, "I see how hard you're trying, and that matters to me," it's almost shocking. That kind of belief doesn't just touch his heart, it changes how he sees himself. When you focus only on results, you're echoing the same pressure the world puts on him. But when you focus on effort, you offer him a safe space to be human. You tell him his value isn't conditional, that he doesn't have to be perfect to be worthy of love and respect. This is powerful because deep down, most men fear failure more than anything. And if he believes that failure will cost him your respect, he'll either hide his struggles or shut down emotionally. On the other hand, if he knows you'll still see him as a man worth believing in, even when he's not winning, he'll open up to you in ways he never has with anyone else. Belief in a man during his lowest moments is like oxygen. When the world is suffocating him with doubt and you step in to remind him of who he is and what he's capable of, you give him the breath he needs to keep going. And here's the part people don't always realize: men remember who stood by them when they had nothing to show for their work. Those moments stick deeper than any grand romantic gesture because they prove your love isn't dependent on circumstances. Let me give you an example. Imagine there's a man named Marcus. He's been working tirelessly on starting his own business. He's poured in his savings, sacrificed weekends, and given up sleep, chasing the dream of being his own boss. But after a year, things aren't going as planned. He's behind on bills, he's stressed, and he feels like a failure. One night, he sits at the kitchen table, staring at spreadsheets with his head in his hands. His girlfriend Jenna walks in. She could easily remind him about the overdue rent or ask when things will turn around, but instead she puts a hand on his shoulder and says, "I know it's tough right now, but I've seen how much you fought for this. I believe in you even when it's hard to believe in yourself." Marcus looks up, and for the first time in days his shoulders drop. The weight doesn't disappear, but suddenly he feels lighter because someone he loves sees the man behind the struggle, not just the struggle itself. Months later, Marcus's business finally turns a corner, and here's the thing: when people ask him what kept him going, he doesn't just talk about his own grit. He talks about Jenna. He remembers that moment at the kitchen table like it happened yesterday. It wasn't just encouragement. It was proof that her love wasn't tied to him being successful. She believed in him when he had nothing but effort to offer. That's the kind of loyalty a man never forgets. The truth is, results come and go. Today's win can be tomorrow's loss, but effort is where the real character lives. When you honor a man's effort, you're not just supporting his dream, you're protecting his spirit. And when he feels that kind of protection, he doesn't just love you, he attaches to you in a way that's almost unshakable. Because you weren't there just for the victory lap. You were there in the trenches, reminding him of who he is when the rest of the world forgot. Respect is one of the deepest needs a man has, and it's often misunderstood. It's not about putting him on a pedestal or treating him like he can do no wrong. It's about showing him in both subtle and obvious ways that you value him, you believe in him, and you're proud to be with him. The reason respect matters so much is because it's tied directly to a man's sense of worth and identity. When you give that respect publicly, in front of friends, family, coworkers, or even strangers, you send a powerful message that you're not ashamed of him, that you're proud to stand beside him. Public respect isn't just about compliments. It's about the way you speak about him, the way you look at him when others are watching, the way you back him up when he needs it. When a man hears his partner speak highly of him in front of others, it's like fuel to his spirit. It tells him that his efforts are seen and appreciated, and it builds a sense of loyalty that is hard to break. This kind of respect strengthens him because it reassures him that the world sees you as a united front, a team. It also protects the relationship because people outside can feel the strength between you. But respect alone isn't enough. If you respect him in public but neglect him in private, there will be a disconnect. That's where the second part comes in, loving him privately. Private love isn't for social media, it's not for show, and it's not to prove anything to the outside world. It's in the quiet, unglamorous moments. It's sitting together after a long day, asking about his thoughts and really listening. It's being affectionate not because others are watching, but because you genuinely want to connect. It's knowing his fears, his insecurities, and the small details about him that nobody else knows, and cherishing those parts of him. This combination, public respect and private love, makes a man feel like he's not just with someone who looks good by his side, but someone who's truly with him in every way. He feels admired in front of others, which strengthens his confidence, and cherished in private, which nurtures his heart. That's when he knows he's not just in a relationship with a partner, but with a teammate who has his back no matter where they are. The reason this is so powerful is because men often live in two worlds: the external world, where they have to prove themselves and earn recognition, and the internal world, where they need peace, safety, and love. Public respect feeds his external world, giving him confidence and validation in front of others. Private love feeds his internal world, giving him the emotional nourishment to keep going when life gets heavy. When he gets both from the same person, it's rare, and it's unforgettable. Here's an example to illustrate it. Imagine a man named Chris who works hard at his job, often putting in long hours to support his family. One evening, he's at a dinner party with his wife, Emily, and some of her friends. Someone makes a casual remark about how much he works, hinting that maybe he's too focused on his career. Instead of laughing it off or agreeing, Emily smiles and says, "You know, he works hard because he loves providing for us, and he still finds time to be there for our family. I'm proud of him." Chris doesn't say much in that moment, but inside he feels a swell of pride and gratitude. Later that night, when they're back home and the world is quiet, Emily sits next to him on the couch. She notices he's tired and just leans her head on his shoulder, thanking him for all he does. She doesn't post about it. She doesn't make a big show. She just connects with him in that simple, genuine moment. That combination, defending and admiring him in public and loving him sincerely in private, creates a deep emotional bond. Chris doesn't just feel loved, he feels honored. And that feeling stays with him far longer than any romantic gesture done for show. Men may not always say it out loud, but when they experience this balance, it changes the way they see the relationship. They feel grounded, secure, and valued on every level. That's why respecting a man publicly while loving him privately isn't just a nice thing to do. It's the kind of thing that can make him emotionally attached to you for life. There's a world of difference between hearing someone's words and truly understanding their unspoken language. For a man, the moment he realizes you can read his silence without him having to explain is profound. Most men are not naturally conditioned to openly talk about every emotion they feel. From a young age, they're taught to keep things in, to solve problems internally, and to present strength even when they're falling apart inside. This means there are often days when he walks through the door carrying a weight he can't immediately put into words. It's not because he doesn't trust you. It's because sometimes he's still processing it himself. When you have the ability to see past his armor, past the "I'm fine," that isn't fine at all, you give him something incredibly rare: the feeling of being known. Not just love for what he shows you, but understood for who he is beneath the surface. This kind of understanding requires paying attention to the small cues. The way his voice changes, how he places his bag down, how long it takes him to look at you when he walks in, or even the subtle tension in his shoulders. These are all signals he's not consciously sending, but they speak volumes to someone who's truly tuned in. This is powerful because it tells him you care enough to study him. You're not just reacting to what's obvious. You're invested enough to know the difference between his tired and his stressed, his quiet and his hurt. It's one thing for someone to love you when you explain exactly what's wrong, but it's another for them to love you in a way that doesn't require translation. That level of connection creates a deep emotional attachment because he feels seen in a way very few people in his life have ever made him feel. For a man, that understanding is not only comforting, it's disarming. He doesn't have to put on a performance for you. He doesn't have to muster the energy to tell the whole story before you'll believe him. You just know. And when he knows you can read his emotions without him saying a word, he begins to feel safe enough to open up even more. This is where trust deepens. Not the surface level trust of, I know you won't betray me, but the deeper trust of, I know you'll catch what I'm feeling before I even fall. Here's a short example to bring this to life. Imagine a man named Daniel. He's usually upbeat when he gets home from work, greeting his wife, Sarah, with a smile and a kiss. But one Tuesday, he comes in quietly, sets his keys on the counter a little harder than usual, and sits on the couch without turning on the TV. He says nothing. Sarah doesn't ask the generic, "How was your day?" because she already knows the answer isn't simple. Instead, she walks over, sits beside him, and gently rests her hand on his arm. She says, "Rough day." He doesn't respond right away, but her tone tells him she's not fishing for gossip. She genuinely gets it. After a few minutes of silence, he finally exhales deeply and admits a project he's been working on for months just fell apart. She doesn't rush to give advice. She doesn't tell him to look on the bright side. She just listens, leans her head on his shoulder, and says, "I'm here. We'll figure it out." That moment for Daniel is more than comfort. It's proof that she knows his storms even before the thunder starts. What makes this so impactful is that it's not dramatic. It's not a grand gesture or a big speech. It's in the quiet, unspoken connection that tells him, you don't have to be anything but yourself right now, and I still see you. That's the kind of emotional safety that sticks with a man forever. Long after the bad day has passed, he remembers the feeling of being understood without having to perform or explain. When a man experiences that, the rare gift of a partner who can hear his silence as clearly as his words, it changes how he views the relationship. It stops being something he has to manage and becomes something he can lean on. And when he can lean without fear of judgment, his heart anchors itself to you. Because in a world that demands he always explain himself, you're the one place where he never has to. Every man carries imperfections. Some are visible, like habits that could use improvement or mistakes from his past, while others are hidden deep in his heart, insecurities, regrets, or wounds that shaped him long before you came into his life. Men are often taught to hide these parts of themselves because they fear being judged, rejected, or seen as less worthy. So they put up walls, presenting the version of themselves they think will be the most accepted. But there's a moment that changes everything for a man when he realizes you've seen the real him, flaws and all, and you still choose to love him. This isn't about blind love that ignores the truth or pretends the flaws don't exist. Real love doesn't mean you act like his imperfections are virtues. It means you acknowledge them without letting them define his worth in your eyes. You don't weaponize his weaknesses during arguments. You don't shame him for being human, and you don't make his flaws the foundation of your opinion about him. Instead, you stand beside him while he works on them. You encourage him to grow, not because you need him to be perfect to love him, but because you love him enough to want the best version of him to emerge. When a man experiences this kind of acceptance, it disarms him. He no longer feels like he has to constantly maintain an image to be worthy of your affection. He can exhale. He can be himself without fear of being abandoned when you see his rough edges. This is powerful because so many men have been in relationships where love felt conditional, where affection was given freely when they were doing well, but pulled away when they made mistakes. Your consistency and grace stand out because it's rare. Loving a man past his flaws also requires balance. It's not about tolerating harmful behavior or letting someone avoid responsibility for their actions. It's about holding him accountable in a way that builds him, not breaks him. You can challenge him to grow without tearing down his spirit. You can say, I believe in you, and I know you can be better. Instead of, you're not good enough. That difference in tone makes all the difference in how he receives your words. When a man knows that you see both his strengths and his weaknesses, yet still choose to be there, you become more than just a partner. You become the one person he can be completely honest with. He won't have to filter his emotions, hide his fears, or downplay his mistakes. That trust deepens the bond because it's built on the foundation of authenticity. Here's a short example to bring this to life. Imagine a man named Alex. He's always been reliable, hardworking, kind, but he struggles with occasional bursts of frustration when things go wrong. It's something he's not proud of, and he tries to keep it under control. But one evening, after a particularly stressful day at work, he snaps at his girlfriend, Mia, over something small. The second the words leave his mouth, he regrets it. He expects her to lash out in anger or retreat in cold silence. But instead, she looks at him and calmly says, I know you're tired and stressed, but that's not like you. Let's talk about what's really bothering you. Alex is caught off guard. Instead of attacking his character or making him feel like a failure, Maya addresses the behavior while still affirming that she sees the man he truly is. Later, they talk through what happened, and she tells him, I know you're not perfect. None of us are. But I also know you're willing to work on yourself, and I'm here for that journey. That moment lodges itself in Alex's heart. He feels both challenged and supported, understood yet encouraged to grow. Months later, when Alex reflects on why he's so deeply committed to Mia, it's not because of big romantic gestures or grand vacations. It's because in his worst moments, when he felt most exposed, she didn't walk away. She didn't define him by a single mistake. She saw his flaws and chose to love the whole of him, not just the polished parts. That kind of love isn't common, and once a man experiences it, he knows he can't afford to lose it. When you love a man past his flaws, you're not excusing them. You're showing him that imperfection isn't the end of love. You're saying, I see you, I know you, and I'm willing to stand beside you while you grow. And that, more than anything else, creates a bond that can last a lifetime. There's a certain kind of transformation that happens to a man when he's with the right woman. It's not forced, it's not demanded, and it's not about someone changing who he is at the core. It's about her presence naturally inspiring him to rise to his best self. The moment a man looks in the mirror and genuinely likes the man he's becoming because of the influence she has on his life, that's when a deep emotional attachment takes root. It's not because she told him he needed to do more or be more. It's because her presence made him want to be more. When a man feels this, it's not about impressing her. It's about aligning with the best version of himself. He starts noticing that he's more disciplined, not because she nags him, but because she makes him want to take life seriously. He becomes more ambitious not to prove his worth, because being with her makes him see possibilities he never saw before. He becomes more loving not out of obligation, but because she makes expressing love feel natural, safe, and rewarding. She isn't trying to fix him. She's simply being the kind of partner whose energy, values, and encouragement pull out the qualities in him that were always there, just waiting for the right reason to shine. The truth is, every man has two versions of himself, the man he is now and the man he knows he could be. Most live with that gap quietly, thinking they'll bridge it someday. But when the right woman enters his life, someday turns into no, because she makes him feel like that better man is already inside him, and she treats him as if he's already there. She sees his potential and respects it without shaming him for not being there yet. That combination of belief and patience is powerful. This kind of influence goes far beyond physical attraction or surface-level compatibility. It's not just about chemistry, it's about growth. It's about her presence sharpening his focus, improving his habits, and giving him the motivation to show up as the best version of himself, not just for her, but for himself and for the life he wants to build. It's about the pride he feels when he realizes he's achieving more, handling life better, and loving more deeply than before she was in his life. When this happens, she becomes part of his identity in the best way possible. She's not just someone he's dating. She's the reason he feels proud of the man he's becoming. That's the kind of attachment that's not easily broken. Because if losing her would mean losing the better version of himself, he'll fight to keep her and to keep that growth alive. Here's a short example to illustrate this. Imagine a man named Ryan. Before meeting Claire, he was living in a comfortable but unchallenged routine, working enough to pay the bills, hanging out with friends, and going through life without much urgency. He wasn't unhappy, but he wasn't truly fulfilled either. Then he meets Claire. She's driven, kind, and grounded. She doesn't lecture him about ambition, but when she talks about her own dreams, it sparks something in him. When she praises his efforts, even on small things, he starts to want to do more. Over time, Ryan notices changes in himself. He's waking up earlier, taking better care of his health, and setting bigger goals. He's more patient, more thoughtful, and more focused. One night, as he's getting ready for an important presentation at work, something he might have once coasted through, he catches his reflection in the mirror. He sees not just a man in a suit, but a man with direction, purpose, and confidence. And he knows deep down that being with Claire has brought out this version of him. She never told him to be someone else. She simply believed in him in a way that made him believe in himself. Years later, when Ryan thinks about why he's so devoted to Claire, it's not just because he loves her. It's because she's woven into the fabric of the man he's proud to be. Her presence has become a part of his identity, and that's something he'll never want to let go of. When you make a man feel like a better man just by being with you, you're not just in his life, you become part of the foundation of who he is. And once that happens, his heart doesn't just love you, it anchors to you. Because you didn't just give him affection, you gave him a reason to be proud of himself. So, if you've ever wondered what really makes a man emotionally attached forever, it's not a trick, it's not a game, it's not about playing hard to get. It's about that one moment when he realizes he can't replace the peace, the belief, the respect, the understanding, and the love you bring. That's not something he'll ever find twice. And once he knows it, trust me, he's yours in a way that no distance, no time, and no temptation can ever undo.